Let's go to my guest now, John Phillips. We're talking a little bit about Trayvon Martin's case, or actually Zimmerman and his case against the Trayvon Martin's family. John, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving.
We did. You can follow John at John Phillips, also floridajustice.com. What's going on down there?
East Coast John Phillips is just kind of holding it down over here in Florida, while West Coast runs the show over there.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And are you involved in this Zimmerman situation, or you have any firsthand information about it for us?
So I've got plenty of firsthand information. I am not involved as of this point. Okay. I was involved kind of during verdict watch when all of this happened with another network. But it's really interesting. Zimmerman just can't stay out of the media. And in this instance, he's suing the family, some of the witnesses who testified, the attorneys. And where it gets really interesting is three prosecutors, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in the state of Florida, saying that they basically all colluded to cause him damages, that he can't work, he can't do anything anymore because he's so famous for all the wrong reasons, and he's sued for $100 million.
And is this then a racketeering charge? What's he claiming?
So basically, and people kind of remember the main witness. One of the main witnesses was Rachel Gentile. This
was that the one he was texting or whatever?
Correct. He was on the phone and then texting, and she read a letter. This is gonna make people really think back, but she read a letter. Or a letter was presented to her to read that was in the name of Brittany Diamond Eugene, or Diamond Eugene, and it was in cursive. And it was a very sad moment where this young lady said she couldn't read in cursive, and Zimmerman's attorney said, "Yeah, but you wrote it," and it was this wildly bewildering moment that they just skipped over.
Right.
And Zimmerman said, "Oh, wait, we've figured it out now 6 years later that Diamond Eugene is indeed a real person, and Gentile was pretending to be her." Uh-huh. Well, the problem with that is there's statutes of limitations, number one, and so they knew this. His attorneys were aware that there was this kind of weird thing going on with witnesses, but didn't do anything about it. And number two, he was acquitted. So he won. And this isn't the reason Zimmerman can't hold down a job or get a job, because Rachel Gentile and Diamond Eugene were pretending to be one another. That's wrong. You can't do that. That might have been perjury, but let the criminal courts decide that. Zimmerman's problem is that he shot somebody and then went on to have a series of other incidents that even the people that were for him at the time started saying, well, this guy might just be a bit out there.
Right. And indeed, he continues to make us wonder. How about the attorneys that are representing him and the judge that's likely to accept this case? Things are a little wild in Florida, right? I mean, they might accept this.
Super wild. And that's a real interesting question, because in Polk County, it's a conservative county. A judge is going to take a serious look at this. I've got to even look myself, 20, 30-page lawsuit. And, for instance, one of the prosecutors is now a judge, and they're immune. You can't sue a prosecutor because you didn't like their prosecution when they lost. But the attorney behind this lawsuit is a guy named Larry Klayman. As I understand it, he's already had his D.C. bar plucked, and Florida is going to look at him, and his judges have yelled at him for years because he's one of these lawyers that file lawsuits to kind of send messages and get to the discovery phase, but you can't do what he did. You can't just ignore the rules and say the rules don't apply to my client. Let me get some discovery. We do have, as much as people don't like attorneys, we do abide by some levels of decorum and rules, hopefully.
Well, wait. So here, I'm reading this that you posted. So it's saying the complaint is he's basically filing for conspiring to switch and or cover up the identity of that defendant, Eugene, that we just talked about, who was the real phone witness in the events prior to Trayvon Martin's death, whatever. So if you're saying that it's past the statute of limitations, how can he even put forth this lawsuit? Like if that's not even legal in the state, how can he even how is this lawsuit even viable?
Attorneys have a saying that goes, "You can file anything." So
Right.
there's no vetting process to hit the button, pay $400, depending upon the jurisdiction, and hit send.
So this is just a publicity stunt?
No, he hopes he's going to fumble upon something in discovery, right?
Doesn't a judge have to say okay first? I mean, can a judge just look and go, no, this is past statute of limitation by?
They can. Generally, what's going to happen is some or all of these are going to have to lawyer up and file a motion to dismiss and motion for sanctions. And sometimes before doing that, in less high-profile situations, there can be, whether you call it a shakedown or whatever, a cost of defense that somebody will pay rather than pay a lawyer $10,000. Look, here's $5,000, go away. But here it's just so sensational. And there's a movie, a documentary that's kind of tied into this theory. And my question is, what familiarity do the lawyer and Zimmerman and the movie have in such that this is basically a publicity stunt for the movie that goes into this Rachel Gentile, Diamond Eugene conspiracy theory, which, again, it may not even be a conspiracy theory. It may have been an actual problem. And, somebody should look at the attorneys, if they knew that and presented false evidence, that's truly an issue, but it's not a civil litigation issue. It's a Florida bar issue or a criminal issue.
Can the Florida bar still hold those attorneys? Can they still debar them or something if they can find information that they knew they put up a witness that was not the real person and they knew it?
They can. And in fact, at this trial, and this is why something that people don't realize is Ben Crump, who was the primary attorney for the Trayvon Martin's family, the guy we see on the press conferences all the time with civil rights cases, was actually forbidden from being in the criminal trial because he was on the witness list because of some of the I don't want to say tactics because that's a bad word, but some of the preparation he did for witnesses. So he was forbidden from being inside the trial because he was a witness because of exactly this and how he prepped witnesses.
Except he forgot to teach her how to read in cursive.
Exactly.
Whoops.
And so that's a matter that, frankly, again, should have been resolved in 2013 and 2014, but then he wrote a book about it. And so, if he actually defamed Zimmerman in his book, I've looked at what the attorney alleges, and it's stuff that doesn't meet the standard for a public figure. But if he defamed, that's a separate issue than relitigating what happened at a criminal trial, 5 years ago.
Is there any way that this goes to trial and that he wins? I mean, really?
Well,
in my opinion, and I never say never, this is a never.
Meaning never going to trial or never winning?
Never winning, never getting past the dismissal stage. And in fact, I would be afraid, particularly after judges and lawyer and bars pay attention when other bars are disciplining you. And he was just freshly scathed and disciplined in D.C. for this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. The attorney for Zimmerman, and I have a feeling that if I were drafting a motion to dismiss, that would be my first line. Well, here we go again, Your Honor. And he's an older gentleman. I think he's just kind of. It's tough when you get high profile cases calling to say no, that's not the right thing to do and advise somebody. But it seems like he often says yes.
Can we state his name publicly so we can all stand in disdain?
Larry, it's on the complaint. It's Larry Klayman, Klayman.
I feel like he's been involved in some other case I heard about down there.
He has. He's done quite a bit of this kind of stuff and he's one of those, and it is what it is. But like the documentary was kind of, that guy was on InfoWars, and he's kind of gotten into that
conspiracy
that
theory
almost
stuff,
sensational side of things. again, if we just draw more back to center and middle, and I don't mean politically, but I mean morally,
which is, we went back during all the Avenatti stuff here in California. That one of the questions we were having is, everyone seemed to know what he was up to. Why didn't the California bar get involved here? And what I heard from all my attorney friends was, the bar didn't do anything. They're not involved.
They don't. Unless and until they find somebody committing one of the deadly sins, like trust account violations, which is ultimately what he's been charged for. The bars tend to be hands off. They don't want high profile people being brought up because the profession has already got a bad reputation, and when their stars, if you will, start to falter, it doesn't help an overall bad reputation.
Well, there was, physicians had that 30 years ago for lack of self-policing, and then we stepped in voraciously, and now we actually try to get in well before somebody's in trouble and intervene. So not only is the potential wellness of the physician protected, the public is protected, and we've done a pretty good job of that in the last 20 years or so. Why can't the legal profession do something like that?
It's a great question, and I don't know the answer. I know that there's a thing in high profile, like the first time we met, I believe it was related to the Jordan Davis case. Kid shot and killed in loud music, and over loud music, and I represented the family.
Yeah,
and cases like that, so you hear this expression ambulance chasing, but there's actually hearse chasing. So lawyers that go to funerals and go to wakes and hit people at the absolute wrong time, and we actually helped, and that it was related to that case and other cases since, where we helped to get a lawyer disbarred. We gave him chances, said chill out, dude, like stop, this isn't right. And the bar finally had 30 different complainants, and they disbarred him. But I don't know why, because policing, whatever it is, we're defined by the worst of the profession when 90% is trying, to at least do mostly the right thing.
And like everything else in our world today, the significant percentage of those, if not a majority, have mental health issues. And if there's a wellness approach to these attorneys, perhaps their behavior wouldn't be so out of line. Perhaps. That's all I'm saying. That's what it is in medicine. That's what it typically is. And having sat
on the West Coast, let's sit down and have a conversation. Maybe we can find a plan.
Yeah, having sat on many physician well-being committee meetings, I can tell you how it works. And it's you have to have somebody that has sweeping powers, like a hospital administration, in our case. And, and you have to take care of business. You have to get serious about protecting the public. Anyway, John, thank you. We appreciate it. Look for you at floridajustice.com.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John Phillips, 800-222-5222.